stopped off at with grid drawings was how to set up your large drawing paper and your small reference picture. And I also have a video on my YouTube channel about how to get a reference photo if you want to get it off off the web, and how you can share it with me and I can print it, and that way you can do all your gridding and drawing from that. So I wanted to talk about how to read a grid. Okay, so I just took just a basic picture and put a grid over it. And I want you to understand the difference between columns and rows and how you read it. So right here, anything that's standing vertically upwards, that is a column. So think about that on buildings, they have columns that support them. So always columns go up and down, and I have them numbered as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns. You can go on your grid and lightly write those numbers in, so you can always know, keep track of where you're at. And then rows are like rows of chairs that you see at a movie theater that go from side to side, and I label those with letters. So A, B, C, D. So A, B, C, D. So as you can see, I have rows in blue and columns in red. And basically what you're going to do is go square by square. So this first square, A1, is found right here. I'm going to draw what's in that square on my paper with the corresponding square. So you're going to see that you have the same amount of squares and labeled exactly the same on the small picture as you do on your drawing paper. So I'm going to find A1, I'll fill that in, and you'll see that it would be kind of blank. And then I can move to B1 and know that I'll have just a few lines there in the bottom right corner. And this is where having your grid labeled is helpful, is that when you get to the point where you're probably doing C4, you can easily read C4 and lay your viewfinder on top of there and cancel out all the noise around it and just draw the lines that you see right there, okay? I feel like that is very, very helpful if you know how to read a grid, is how you can move around this paper, make it easier. So this is how to make your own viewfinder. So as you heard me say that with a viewfinder, it's very helpful to cancel out noise. It's kind of like the same concept of when you are trying to think and you turn down the music in the car, even if it's not loud, it's just kind of like this. Let's turn down the noise all around, and just focus on one square at a time.
Okay, so we've done a lot of mowing the yard. We've set up our paper that we're going to draw on. We have set up the photograph or picture that you want to enlarge. Again, 4 by 6. I'm going to enlarge by 12 by 18. And what you're going to do is you're going to go square by square. You think of it this way. This is A, B, C, D. The rows. So each row is A, B, C, D. And each column is numbered. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to start by drawing, let's say, D1. That square right there, I'm going to come down and I'm going to go A, B, C, D, 1, and I'm going to draw that in and focus in on just that one square. And what I have found is that a lot of people, you get overwhelmed because your mind immediately goes to the rest of the picture and you're thinking, how am I going to do the mouth and stuff? The secret to drawing is you got to forget that it's a mouth and think of it in shapes. And a good way to do that is to have a viewfinder. So you can block out, either just take pieces of paper and block as you go, or I've also found that if you just take an index card and make a 1-inch by 1-inch hole in it. And that, let's get this all made, cut out the middle. make your own little drawing tool, which I like to refer to as a viewfinder. And this kind of blocks out all that noise that's going on in the whole picture that might be overwhelming you. So here, I've made this viewfinder out of an index card. Okay, I can now, let's say if I'm going to work on A3, I can move it over to A3, and instead of thinking about his hair, but more as lines, makes drawing it so much easier. It's about like mind over matter. You just gotta have to break it down, okay? It's like a math problem. When you chunk it and do small parts first, it gets quite a bit easier to do the whole problem.
Okay, hopefully that was helpful to you. I'm going to
So we've done a lot.
Get that out of the way, and we're going to move to values. So this is really what is going to make your grid drawing pop, is when you use a value scale. So you probably call it shading, but that is how you can take like a flat shape and make it a three-dimensional form, is by adding that light and darkness to it. So here's the value scale at the bottom, where it goes to the darkest to the darks, and then gradually gets lighter till it's white. Those shades of gray actually are the meat of a drawing. So if you noticed, even on that D1 that I showed you, that you have to, even though it looks blank because it's just a black looking square, it's not. I have to do the value. I have to shade in and cover that whole square, that color, that same value. And you can create your own value scale and use it to hold up against your drawing as you go. These are some techniques that you can use to do value. I know with value, you all usually refer to it as shading. And with shading, I know that a lot of you love to do the blending and smudging with your fingers, which is fine. But if you want this drawing to keep for a long time, you don't want to use your fingers because there's natural oils that will yellow your paper. So I suggest like maybe take a tissue paper to help smudge and smear. Hatching and cross hatching, I should have put those beside each other, are probably my favorite. Hatching is just is what you usually see in comic books, just the little marks, hash marks. And if you see them cross over each other, that's a cross hatching. Stippling is probably the one that everyone enjoys to do in the art room because it's like just making dots. The closer the dots, the darker the value. As they spread out, it gets lighter. And the last one is one that I see a lot of cartoons use, but not many students ever use it, is the scrubbling. And that is just kind of making those cursive E's and rolling around. And the closer they are together, the darker. And as you spread them out, it gets lighter. Here's some tips and tricks. Draw lightly. You will be erasing the grid, so you do want that light. And art is all an illusion, so you don't want, just like every magician doesn't want everyone to know their tricks. You got to think like a magician. Smoke and mirrors. Look for basic shapes. Don't try to look at it and just do something really big at once. Take it piece by piece. Reference your value scale. It's not just black and white. There is shades of gray, and there's certain levels of shades of gray. So be very mindful of that. And draw what you see, not what you know. So whenever I am doing Lucy's picture and I have it gridded and I'm on the section with her hair in it, I don't want to think of it as hair. I think of it as values and shades and lines. And when you think of it that way, it looks more like what it is. Okay. Follow the grid, trust the grid. I've had a lot of students that go one little square at a time, and they've had the most beautiful grid drawing. So take your time, be patient, because it does pay off, and relax. If you get frustrated, take a second, breathe, relax, close your eyes for a little bit, and then readjust and reevaluate and continue on. And if you want to do this at home, or if you are at home and you don't have a 12 by 18 inch square rectangle drawing paper, this is just a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you want to do a grid drawing and let's say you have a 5 by 7 and you just want to double the size instead of tripling it like we did earlier with what how I did the 12 by 18. So if you just want to double a 5 by 7, that would be a 10 inches by 14 inches. So if you have a 4 by 6 photograph, the standard size photograph, if you just want to double it, that would be an 8 by 12. Okay, so you can do it on a smaller scale and just do that 1-to-1 ratio and just increase it by 1. Just increase it by a little. You don't have to triple it. You could just double it. Okay. I'm going to let you look at that a little bit more, give you a little time. You can pause. I encourage you to pause and look at this. So, because I know math, I'm not a mathematician by any means, so I would have to look and analyze and figure this out on my own. And I want to see your drawings. So email me, YouTube me, Facebook me, Insta me. There's my Twitter and TikTok. Hit me up. I want to see these beautiful drawings. Enjoy it. You're not going to get this done in one day. It is a process, and so enjoy the process.